I hereby call the October 20th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting to order at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you please do a roll call?
Commissioner Glenn is not here. Commissioner Allen?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Commissioner Collins?
Here.
Commissioner McCabe?
Here.
Commissioner Zagarodny is also not here. And Commissioner Scoggin?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Any objections to approving the agenda as written? All right, hearing and seeing none, the agenda is approved. Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Scoggin, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Consent agenda. On the consent agenda for tonight, we have minutes, regular meeting minutes from September 15th, 2025. Introduction for public hearing, quasi-judicial matters. There are none. Introduction for public hearing, legislative matters. Resolution 25-18. A resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 43.20 Subdivision Development Standards to allow lots to be reduced to 30,000 square feet within single-family residential land use districts. Staff, Alex Strawn, Planning and Land Use Director. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as written? Hearing and seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Committee reports, none. Agency reports, none. Land use classifications, none. Audience participation. If there is anyone on the phone who would like to speak about anything that is not on the agenda for a public hearing, please press *3. No one on the phone? Thank you, Caleb. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Again, this is for something that's not on the agenda for today. All right. Seeing and hearing that there are no persons to be heard, is there any objection to closing audience participation? No objection. Audience participation is closed. Public hearing quasi-judicial matters, none. Public hearing legislative matters. Resolution 25-19. A resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending adoption of the fiscal year 2027 Capital Improvement Program. Staff, Natasha Heindel, current planner. Ms. Heindel, please provide your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Natasha Heindel, planner, and I get to speak to you all about the Capital Improvement Program today. The Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, has been in place for nearly as long as the borough has been. It was established in 1965 as part of the Mat-Su Borough capital budget, and the listed process has gone through many changes in the past 60 years. Over time, the CIP had become a bit of an unwieldy wish list, with some of the projects being outside of borough powers to accomplish. But in 2022, the planning department was directed to revitalize the CIP to increase its effectiveness and provide a better process for community members to nominate capital projects. One of the major changes of this update was the condition that nominated projects must now have a lifespan of at least 5 years and cannot be considered routine maintenance. And this most recent process update has resulted in a streamlined outcome with projects that are easily identifiable, attainable through borough powers, and clearly prioritized. While I have to stand up here before you, it's fun to be able to share some successes. So I'd like to share that the number one top ranked project in fiscal year 2025, which was chosen for funding, the improvements to the Austin Helmers Pioneer Peak Trailhead have just been completed with final grading scheduled for the spring. And our current budget for FY26 included funding for 2 top-ranked CIP projects, 1 partially funded project, and 2 additional honorable mentions with proposed future funding mentioned in the budget. The top-ranked projects were the Jordan Lake Park improvements and Wigme Road restroom. Those are nearly complete. And the Government Peak Recreation Area acoustic improvements are designed and will be advertised for construction soon. So this tells me that the process changes were positive and that they're working. So thank you. Since it only comes in front of you once a year, I'd like to give a brief overview of the CIP process and how the ranked list in front of you came to be. Project nominations are collected year-round in an open nomination period with a deadline of August 1st for consideration in the following budget cycle. So this year it was August 2025 for consideration in the upcoming fiscal year 2027 budget. As a side note, this year the deadline was extended until August 15th to allow for some additional time. Once received, projects were initially reviewed for their program eligibility in meeting the nomination criteria. There's 5 main criteria that all CIP projects must comply with. One being that they have to fall within borough powers to accomplish. They cannot be considered routine maintenance or equipment replacement. They have to have a minimum cost of at least $20,000, but they cannot exceed a cost of $1 million. It has to have a minimum lifespan of 5 years, and it must align with a Mat-Su Borough plan goal or objective that's been adopted. This year, there were 27 projects nominated, with 23 of those qualifying as valid projects. Once projects were confirmed as eligible, a scoring committee then met to thoroughly review, score, and rank all of the nominated projects. The scoring committee consisted of 1 person from nearly every borough department: planning, community development, public works, finance, and emergency services. The scoring rubric includes a weighted scoring system that places emphasis on projects that have a legal requirement, have a positive impact on public health, and have connection to existing Mat-Su Borough projects. What you have included in the packet in front of you is a summarized list of all 23 valid project nominations in order of their ranked priority as a result of that scoring committee's efforts. The top 9 are highlighted as priority projects. And this is because the program was originally developed for a 6-year funding list. The Assembly typically has approximately $500,000 of available funds that could be allocated in the budget, and these top 9 projects total $3 million, the 6 years of $500,000 each. The 6-year cycle is no longer necessarily useful criteria for you guys, and so we anticipate that in the next year we'll update this to simply reflect the current fiscal year, and you guys can, or not you guys, the Assembly can allocate how they see fit. The purpose of this document and process is for the community to identify projects important to them, send it along to the Assembly for potential funding. This fiscal year 2027 CIP will go to the Assembly in November and December for their consideration of this document and be available to them in this spring during budget deliberations. So spring of 2026 is when the Assembly may choose to fund some of these projects. In a nutshell, the Capital Improvement Program is the community's tool to communicate their desired goals for improvement projects, and it is the borough's tool to plan and prioritize short-term accomplishments. CIP process as a whole focuses to elevate proposals with community support, prioritize infrastructure development with alignment to Mat-Su Borough plans, and enhance the quality of life for Mat-Su Borough residents and visitors. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Ms. Heindel? Any questions at all? All right. At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak? Please press *3. No one, Caleb? Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? All right, do we have a list? All right, ma'am, please come on up. Oh, perfect. That works out great. If you could just make sure your mic's on and please spell your name for the record.
It's on now. Yeah. So I'm Patricia Fisher, Fisher, borough resident, and I'm here to speak about the Church Road separated path, which is priority ranked number 3 on the list. This project focuses on the design and construction of a 1-mile separated path along Church Road between Spruce Street and Selden Road. This 1-mile section would provide a connection of existing separated trails and result in one continuous separated path connecting Meadow Lakes Elementary School to both the Settlers Bay area and to Palmer along a safe, scenic route. Specifically, at Selden and Church Road, the path would connect to an existing path that extends, I'm trying to read this, I'm sorry. The path would extend to us, which goes west, connect to an existing path which extends west to Windy Bottom Road. The Selden Road Phase 2 project is scheduled to begin construction in 2026 and will extend the separated path to Meadow Lakes Elementary School from Spruce. Going south along Church, the pathway would go over across the Parks Highway to Clapp Road, onto Knick Road, and onto the Palmer-Wasilla Highway and points east. This one small mile segment would result in a monumental impact by connecting Meadow Lakes, the Menard Center, Colony Schools, Palmer High School, and more parks, trails, and schools in between. The reason for this project is necessary, was stated in the borough's bicycle and pedestrian plan of 2023, which says, a well-connected and well-maintained bicycle and pedestrian network does more than just provide alternative transportation opportunities. It creates a greater sense of belonging and community among residents and entices visitors to remain in the area longer. The alternative modes of transportation that require bike and pedestrian trails improve both physical and mental health and can help prevent long-term health concerns such as heart disease, strokes, and diabetes. By creating a safe and complete bicycle and pedestrian transportation network, we can uplift the whole Mat-Su Borough. Thank you.
Thank you. On the list, I have Rob Wells. Mr. Wells? Good evening. Please spell your last name for the record.
My name's Rob Wells, Wells. Thanks for the opportunity to comment. I've been a board member of Hatcher Alpine Experience for 10 years now. We're going to start our 6th year of operation soon at Ski Talk, the ski area. And I just wanted to be present, and our general manager, Megan Justice, is here too to answer any questions you might have. We very much appreciate the public-private partnership, I will say, with the borough on this project. It's been instrumental in our success to date, and we appreciate being number 2 on your CIP list. I'm looking forward to a great ski season. I'm 72 now, so I've been skiing for a while. This summer we installed the surface lift, which is a beginner lift, which will make us user-friendly for people who want to come and learn how to ski. We rent equipment now. We upgraded our fleet of rental equipment at very affordable rate, which is our in our mission statement to be accessible, and that means affordable. And we also were able, thanks to the voters of the Mat-Su Borough, install a new access road this summer that's very bus friendly for the school district, and we've been working with the school district to develop a curriculum for Mat-Su students. And a real big deal after last winter is we have installed with grants from Matsu Health Foundation and Rasmussen Foundation snowmaking equipment. And I'm looking forward in the next few weeks when the temperatures drop to see those guns give us a much stabler operational period because we're able to make snow because of the water and temperature availability. So thank you for your attention and support.
Thank you, sir. My family and I are season pass holders at Ski Talk, huge fans, so you guys are doing a great job. Appreciate all the work you do up there.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else for public comment? That's the only two folks I have on the list. Anyone else present that would like to speak? Has anyone called in, Caleb? Anyone on the phone? No? Okay. All right. Seeing and hearing no other persons to be heard, is there any objection to closing audience participation? Objection? Audience participation is closed. Okay. Is there any response from the staff or anything in terms of any of the public comment you've heard? Okay, thank you very much. So any discussion from commissioners regarding the CIP? All right. Yeah, we will. I just meant initial questions for staff, anything like that. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 25-19.
I'll move 25-19.
Thank you, Commissioner McCabe.
Second it.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner McCabe has moved resolution. Commissioner Collins has seconded. Are there any discussion? Any discussion at all? All right, are there, sorry? go ahead.
Commissioner McCabe, I just have a comment.
Sure.
I know that we don't really have an impact on necessarily on what gets approved. It's up to the assembly. But my thought process in looking at all of the proposed projects is the return on investment. So the money that we spend, how many people will be using or potentially using whatever they approve for funding is paramount. I think the more people that use something, the more important it is to get it funded. So, like I said, I know I don't have an impact on it, and all of these projects look worthy. I wish we could approve all of them, but where's the money?
Yeah. Any other comments? All right. All right. Are there any objections to approving Resolution 25-20 as written? All right. Hearing and seeing no objections, Resolution 25-20 has been adopted. All right, Resolution 25-21, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance amending MSB 17.55 to reduce the minimum building setback requirement from pedestrian easements.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I hate to interrupt, but we missed 25-20.
Did I? I'm sorry. Thanks for catching that. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I got ahead of myself. Backing up here, Resolution 25-20, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance repealing MSB 17.02 mandatory land use permit in its entirety and adopting MSB 17.07 land use review. Staff Alex Strawn, Planning and Land Use Director. Mr. Strawn, please provide your staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the mandatory land use permit was originally adopted in 2007, but became effective 2008. It was a permit that required, if you're going to build anything over 480 square feet, that a sort of a site plan be obtained. Then we would review it to see if what is being proposed is compliant with all the laws within the borough, setbacks, flood zones, special use districts, all the things that might apply. That was in place for 3 years. We had between 300 and 500 applications per year that we processed during that time. And then in 2011, the code was sort of gutted, I guess you could say, to make it only apply to any building within 75 feet of a water body. So that went from 300 to 500 per year to around half a dozen per year that we'd receive, which is kind of where we're at right now. Now, recently, a couple of years ago, it was made to where somebody could voluntarily apply for a permit. And we do get a few of these where different companies want some sort of written piece of paper that says they're in compliant with the regulations based on what they're proposing to do. So we do process some of those. But this ordinance, which is sponsored by Assemblymember Sumner, would repeal that old code and create a new section of code that is very similar in nature to what was originally adopted back in 2007. Any structure over 480 square feet would require a review by the borough that has a 5-day turnaround. And if we fail to turn that around in 5 days, then there would be a full refund of the fees that were collected for the application. But this would be a requirement that people submit, essentially telling us what their use is and a site plan, and then we would review it for all these different things and give them a certificate that what they're doing is in accordance with our regulations. So I'd happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions for Mr. Strong?
So what happens, the 5-day guy, if you're not able to get it in 5 days, is it just, what do you give them back? Their money and we think you're good? I mean, that's kind of different a little bit.
Yeah, so there would be a refund of the fees, but we would still be required to do the review, and that would be what happens. So they may be waiting for us, but we did just adopt a new system for our permitting system. We're hopeful that as time goes on, it's going to lead to more efficiencies to where we can actually review these and take on all the other permits we have as well.
Any other questions for Mr. Strong? So I'd like to know, Commissioner Allen, from your perspective, is the 5-day turnaround going to be problematic for your staff?
So I have been asking my key staff members in the permit center, if we get an additional 300 to 500 permits per year, would you be able to handle this? We think that each one would probably take around 5 minutes to do. So given the efficiencies that we're hoping to have here over the next few months, they believe that we can absorb this.
Okay, so this is not, that answers my next question. So this doesn't involve physically going to the site. You're looking at satellite imagery, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so most of these will probably be homes, single-family homes, and we're just really looking to see if they have the setbacks, if they're in a flood zone, if they're in a special use district. We can do that all at a glance. This will not require site review, us going onto the site to approve these at all.
All right, that's good information to have. Thank you. Also, can you think of any other place in Borough Code that sort of gives you a arbitrary deadline like this where, a fee would be returned or some other, result if you didn't meet some deadline like that?
Yes, so we do have several sections of code that have a mandated time frame. None of them say what happens if you blow it.
Okay.
So multifamily code has a requirement of, I believe it's 15 days to turn that around. Now, That is from the time we have a complete application. So a lot of times there's a lot of back and forth that will take time. And then for administrative permits for gravel extraction, from 30 days from the day that we get a complete application, we are to render a decision on those as well. So yeah, we do have a few there.
So to be clear, then, you feel like your staff would be up to the task if Assembly was to go forward with a 5-day deadline?
Yeah, I believe we would make it work. And I guess I will say, in some regards, this would save us time. We already get a ton of phone calls of, hey, here's what I'm hoping to do. Does it require a permit? That is like all day long, every day. So this would be, replace that with them submitting a little sketch and maybe a little written thing of what they're doing. And then, I truly believe that when we had the land use permit in place, it did prevent a lot of co-compliance cases from happening in the first place. And in fact, the week that they repealed it earlier that week, we had a land use permit application for a commercial structure that was trying to develop 20 feet from public right of way. And we said, hey, this is too close, and they're extremely thankful.
Right.
And it, prevented a huge headache for everybody. So yeah, I think we can absorb this.
Great. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions?
Commissioner McCabe, I have a question. How much revenue will it potentially generate with 300 to 500 more applicants?
Let me bust out my calculator here. So if, assuming this is a $50 application fee, probably could do that in my head, but if it's 300 permits at $50 each, it'd be $15,000.
Any other questions? All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If there's anyone on the phone who would like to speak, please press *3. Anyone on the phone? No? Okay. Thank you. And in terms of folks in the audience, I have Mr. Hanson on the list here. Please come up, sir, and spell your last name for the record.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Rod Hanson, Hanson, and I'm here on behalf of the North Lakes Community Council, which I think I read the procedure says gives me up to 5 minutes. I won't use
That's true,
all
sir.
5, but slightly more than 3. I am here tonight to express support for this resolution, repealing the land use permit piece and replacing it with a land use review ordinance. We do like the idea of a more proactive, kind of ahead of the curve requirement here that gets information out to property owners and developers before mistakes are made. And I see real value in that information also being available to borough folks, such as the Planning Commission, the Planning Board, the Assembly, and then just generally, I think it's important for the general public and taxpayers about proposed developments. So the best decisions can be made during the plat approval or construction phase, or prior to the plat approval and construction phase. I guess there's a fundamental assumption, and I didn't write this in my comments, but the assumption is that this wouldn't just apply to a homeowner building a home, but would also apply to a developer planning a subdivision. And if I'm incorrect on that, then what I'm about to say maybe doesn't apply to this ordinance and needs to apply to a different ordinance. So I see you nodding, Alex, as like maybe my assumption's incorrect. Okay. Well, let me say what I was going to say, and maybe it applies to it in a slightly different way. So the justification for this ordinance does include reference to policy LU 1-1, which talks about consistent, compatible, effective, and efficient development within the borough. And, we certainly agree as a community council with that policy. My thoughts tonight coming in was recommend that you maybe postpone a final decision on this just to address some other concepts that might be potentially incorporated into this ordinance. And I did notice just a couple small errors in the numbering that's in the 1707 paragraphs. One what we were hoping was, there were kind of 4 items on the second page of my statement. We believe the requirement for a land use review should be applicable to not only individual lot owners, but also developers. So that kind of goes to my earlier point. If it's possible that this land use review process could be used for subdivision development, I guess I would hope you would consider that. Under the 170730 procedure aspect, paragraph B1A8 speaks to a requirement for the applicant to include the intended use of proposed structures. And this is really important for us when you think about subdivisions. What kind of subdivision are we looking at? Are we looking at property that's going to be single-family homes, multifamily homes, or is it a commercial development? And the inability of the plating department to even ask that question is really frustrating, and I think results in some decisions that could have been more optimized had they been able to get some visibility into what the plans of that developer were. So we suggest adding some language, for example, single-family housing, multifamily housing, or commercial use would be not zoning, but a way to gather information so that Alex's team and the plating department could, and Public Works could have visibility into what the future is. And if you really think about what I've been testifying on for months is the frustrations with the road infrastructure and not knowing the impact of a development on the connecting streets and roads is something that is just really frustrating. So we also had a suggestion here that a section of code be developed, whether it's within this ordinance or separately, that would require maybe not the individual, but the borough to apply some really basic traffic impact analysis, depending on the type of development that's being done, so that that information then can be put in front of the plating board and in front of the Public Works Department to determine what's the right thing to do with connecting intersections and connecting roads. And then just lastly, and kind of on a separate lane altogether here, in 170710 under intent and applicability, there's a pretty long paragraph E that references a bunch of expectations around requirements to comply with state and other codes. You do reference alcoholic beverages as, you know, there's another way or another thing people need to comply with. And we would just encourage maybe inserting the words about marijuana businesses in there as well. As a community council, we've been frustrated with that issue from time to time. So maybe I'm off target on thinking this ordinance could address some of these, but I got my say. And maybe it'll be applicable to a future debate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the audience would like to speak on this issue? All right, Mr. Strawn, would you like to respond to any public comments?
Yeah, I guess I would just say that this would apply to the construction of structures over 480 square feet. It would not apply within the subdivision process. That is not the intent of this ordinance. This would not change that.
Okay. And it's commercial or residential structures over that size, right? Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Strawn? Anything? Okay. All right. If there's no one else in the public to speak on this issue, I will now close public hearing. All right. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 25-20.
Commissioner Scoggin, I'll make a motion to move 25-20.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCabe, I'll second it.
Thank you very much. So I've got Commissioner Scoggin moving the resolution and Commissioner McCabe with a second. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Scoggin, any discussion? No? All right.
I have one question. The gentleman suggested that we do traffic impact analysis, and I'm curious to know what that costs.
Yeah, through the chair to Commissioner McCabe. So traffic impact analysis is a very expensive thing, and it is generally only required for the largest of uses. We do have a requirement if you're accessing a borough road that if your use generates a certain amount of traffic, and it has to be quite a bit, it's usually like a gas station or a grocery store or whatever it may be, then a TIA is required. And it costs tens of thousands of dollars. It's very expensive. But it's very important when somebody's putting something that big in that we know whether we're going to need to stoplight or whatever it may be. So TIA is required for that. So our driveway permit process in Title 11 does have standards for driveways if you're doing something small. If you're doing something medium size, it has a larger standard. And then if it's really big, then a TIA is required. That's kind of how it's set up right now.
Thank you.
Yes, I do remember that from the plating board.
All right, then. Are there any objections to approving Resolution 25-20 as written? All right, hearing and seeing no objections, Resolution 25-20 has been adopted. Moving on to Resolution 25-21, a resolution of the Mattanus-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance amending MSB 17.55 to reduce the minimum building setback requirement from pedestrian easements. Staff, Alex Strawn, Planning and Land Use Director. Mr. Strawn, please provide your staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is just what it sounds like. Right now, our code requires a 25-foot setback from all public rights-of-ways. And there are, throughout the borough, a lot of pedestrian easements. A lot of them are along lakes, but there are some subdivisions where there's pedestrian easements on a lot of the lot lines, and a lot of people didn't know about them when they developed those subdivisions. A prime example would be Settlers Bay subdivision, and I don't think the intent was to have a full 25-foot setback from these easements. They're usually about 10 feet wide, and I guess this was at the request of Assembly Member Nowers. She was hoping to have some way to incentivize the dedication of pedestrian easements, and to not, when a developer is designing their development, that they might incorporate these and not be making a large swath of the land unusable. So that was the intent of this, is to try to incentivize the development of or dedication of pedestrian easements.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Strawn? Oh yeah, go ahead.
What is the proposed new setback, or is it?
Yeah, so I apologize. Yeah, so the new setback would be 10 feet, just like it from a lot line, for instance.
So, okay, yeah, so like from lot line. So a lot of these are probably 10-foot easements, so it's really 30 feet in a sense. There's 10 foot of easement, 10 feet on each side, so it's still a pretty good swath.
Yeah, so
if you want to do
you'd
that.
have, correct, you'd have a 10-foot easement with 10 feet on each side, so it'd be like a 40-foot swath that there'd be no building there for pedestrians to go through.
30, I think.
30. Well, 10 feet, 30, thank you.
But yeah, no, it makes sense because that's the building, right? 10
Yeah.
foot is,
Yeah,
Yeah.
25 is a bit excessive.
I think it's a good idea, because otherwise you're looking at 60 feet in a lot
Yeah.
of these places, so, yeah.
I also think it's a good idea. Any other discussion? No? All right. At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If there's anyone on the phone that would like to speak, please press star with 3. Anyone on the phone? No? Thank you, Caleb. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Okay, seeing and hearing no person to speak, are there any objections to closing public hearing? All right, seeing and hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. All right. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 25-21.
I'll make a motion to move 25-21.
Thank you, Commissioner Scoggin.
Commissioner Carpenter, I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Carpenter. All right, so Commissioner Scoggin with the motion, Commissioner Carpenter with the second. Is there any discussion? Any discussions at all? All right, are there any objections to approving Resolution 25-21 as written? All right, hearing and seeing no objections, Resolution 25-21 has been adopted. All right, moving on, correspondence and information, none. Unfinished business, none. New business, none. Commission business. Upcoming planning commission agenda items. Do any commissioners have any questions about the future agenda items provided in your folder? All right. Seeing and hearing none, we'll just move on to director and commissioner comments. Mr. Strawn, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to just say that there was a conditional use permit application that came before this board for a marijuana retail facility known as Shoreline Cannabis. It was July 2024. It was denied by the Planning Commission. It was then appealed, and the Board of Adjustments overturned the decision of the Planning Commission, and then that was appealed to the Superior Court, and it's been remanded back to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. So I'm not saying this to invite discussion on this matter. What I am saying this for is to invite you to please not discuss this matter or do any fact-finding quest, because this potentially could end up back in your lap.
Okay, just to clarify, are we permitted to read the order of the judge remanding the case back?
Yes.
That's a public document, isn't it?
Yeah, we can have Lacey, I'll have Lacey send it out to the entire commission.
Thank
and
you.
then should this ever come back to you, that would be part of the record as well.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll start on this end. Commissioner Collins?
I appreciate everyone being here, and as always, I appreciate the public comment and testimony and everything like that. It's greatly appreciated. We can't make decisions without hearing your guys' input, so your attendance and participation is greatly appreciated. Thank everyone for being here. It's always a pleasure.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Nah, that was a good night. I'll hold on to my comments.
All right. Go down to this end.
Commissioner Scoggin, no comment.
Commissioner McCabe, just everybody be safe, and when is it going to snow? I mean, make sure you have your studs and your winter tires ready, even though it's so warm.
Okay, that's right, and I'll add, get your skis waxed and your edges sharpened.
And then one,
Yes, another.
so one other thing, our next regular scheduled meeting is not going to be in this building because of the elections. It is going to be at the Animal Care and Regulation Facility.
And that is
An
over
animal care facility
by
over
the recycling center? Is
by the
that
recycling center, correct, by the landfill. Yep.
the dog pound also known as?
The dog.
That's where, that's me, okay, all right.
They have a conference room.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
So members of the public will still be able to call in. We may not be streaming it live, but there will be the ability to call in.
Okay. You had a comment? That was it? Okay. Anything else? All right. Well then, at this point, I will go ahead and call this meeting adjourned